Hey everyone, another nice day out here. Yesterday it was in the 70s. Today it's like wind chill down in the 20s. So Central Alabama's taking a little bit of a temperature swing, which is not uncommon, middle of February. But what we're talking about today is having clean logs to mill. I don't care whether you chainsaw mill or you have a bandsaw or a swing mill, whatever. Those blades will last longer if you don't have dirt and grit, debris embedded in the bark. So I always strip every log. I know it's time consuming and whatever, but I just feel like my blades stay sharp longer. And you can say, well, if you save the time by not debarking it, that's time you would save, in comparison to, balancing that out with sharpening your blades. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could potentially sharpen your blades a couple times and then, just go ahead and mill without. But another aspect of the thing about that is, because in that case you would be sharpening your blades more often, that means you're actually wearing them out faster, because every time you sharpen them, you're wearing away a little bit more of your blades. So I think you can keep your blades lasting longer by keeping the bark off, as well as if you've seen the technique or the system I use, where you have a rail system that sets on top of the log for your first cut reference. It sets so much better and more secure if it doesn't have all the unevenness of bark. So let's just, I'll show you how I strip it. I've seen other techniques that might be good. The kind, it's a machine, or it's a little attachment on your chainsaw. You ride it along there and it just flings the bark off. That looks kind of neat. I've seen people, I think they call it a spud or something like that they go down the length of it with like a long handle, flat blade. So I've seen some people use almost like a machete, and they go along and peel it. I use what they call a draw knife or a draw shave. I guess the reason they say draw is because it's a pulling motion, and these can be very inexpensive. You can easily sharpen them to keep them nice and sharp. So I just come down here. It's just a motion. There may be, and remember, I do a lot of milling of the southern yellow pine, and it has this really big, thick bark that no doubt would hold tons of dirt. And you figure when it gets dry out and there's so much dust in the air, all that can potentially just settle in all these cracks. And as your blade's going through there, it's just affecting your cutting edges. It's nice to have the logs supported up on some kind of stand, whatever height is appropriate. The thing that's fun about this, it's kind of like a satisfying thing of just stripping the bark, the smell. And these pine trees, I love the smell of that stuff. And plus it squirts a little bit of the pine juice up in your face, gets on your glasses and stuff. Kind of cool. One thing you may notice here, this section is kind of already stripped. That was just from where I drug the log back. So typically, that has some embedded stuff in it right there. That's not going to be much of an issue, because my initial slab that I take off, will be underneath that. But yeah, I go down here, kind of just get started. This particular bark is not like, I've seen some trees where a man just got going and it just basically peeled off and just like roll off the side. This particular tree, you can go different directions if you want to, like right here, I'm going this direction now. I'm holding this at an angle if I want to. You can come straight. Certain sections, you may have to work around, like knots in the log, coming at it from different. It doesn't require a lot of force, but it does. I mean, if it's a hot summer day, this will get you sweaty. But like I say, I think it's worth it. And then also, another good thing to think about too is, if as soon as possible, if you chop a tree down, and I'm talking trees that were freshly either blown down by a storm, or you chop them down, you want to get them up off the ground so that the ground bugs and worms and all that stuff. Hey, Bella. So that they don't crawl in, because they love to be inside between the outside of the bark and that layer right there. Whatever it is, they just love it. And so you get all these worms embedded in there. So to get your logs lifted up off the ground, and then, if possible, go ahead and strip the bark so that it doesn't give them that refuge right in between those two layers. I won't go through this whole log. I just wanted to show you just this technique of doing the draw shave method. Just come down here, and another thing that's cool is all this stuff here, like if you put like a tarp underneath here or something like that, you can save all this stuff, and it really makes really good mulch. It's pine bark mulch, you know, real thick stuff. So it definitely has a purpose other than just cleaning the log for your chainsaw well-being. But like I said, in a way, I mean, everybody's different, but in a way, I kind of actually enjoy this process of stripping the log. Kind of fun just to go down the trunk. And then another thing to consider too is, like, for instance, I'm mostly talking right now about stripping this so that I can mill it into boards. But you know, if you're making wood projects that are like natural, you know, pine beams or whatever like that, like furniture, things like that, where basically you're just taking a raw log and stripping the bark off of it, this is an excellent technique. You'll notice that I could go deeper. Right now I'm just kind of hitting that outer surface, just getting the outer bark. But if you went another layer, you can even take that that white part off, the pith or whatever. It's not the pith, it's the I'm just having a brain freeze right now. But like if you were wanting to make natural logs, you could shave just that that outer layer off, and it leaves that really cool look there. And with good techniques, I'm going backwards right now so I don't dig in and create knife marks. Like if I was wanting to use this as like a natural beam or a post or a pillar or something, like for a porch or something of that nature, I'm just using a fast technique to strip it as fast as possible. And you say, well, how fast can you go? Well, fast enough that I can get sawdust in my mouth there, but let's just see. All right, so you kind of get the idea there. Just a